Do you mind coming closer?
Well, we're going to come closer.
Yeah, we can, because there's a lot of, can you see all this material properly?
Yeah, normally we can see it without too much.
Okay, well, I have to pass this on, right? You know how this works? Yes?
Yeah,
Can you
sure.
please sign up? Okay. Are we all here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because someone's missing?
One is walking off to the toilet for a minute.
Okay. Oh, I know. He's here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's right. Okay. Before we start, okay, we would like to introduce ourselves. We don't know how much you know about our school, okay, so we'll talk about what we do in our school, but we would also like to hear you, okay, to exactly know why you're here at this time. Okay, we come from La Miranda. I don't know if you know this school. It's a private school in Saint Just, das Bern. Does anybody know about this school? Anything? No? Never? Okay. We are teachers from La Miranda. La Miranda is a private school, and it's a multilingual school. Okay. Before we start with all this long talk, we said we talked. We had another person coming, but she's a teacher. She got sick today, so she couldn't come. We're sorry. Okay.
That happens to teachers.
That happens to teachers when we are surrounded by lots of children who get sick. Okay, as you may well know. So we would like to know, because depending on how much we know about you, then we can approach this in a way or in a different way. So because we don't know anything about you, and we would like to know if you're teachers, if you're not teachers, if you're student teachers, if you're working right now, if you're not in a school, in a language school. So we would like to know more about you.
Okay.
Yeah?
Should I start? My name is Paul Tompkins. I'm originally from the States, but I've been living here for like 30 years. I work as an English teacher in secondary school, primarily bachillerato, and I've done some code classes. We're doing this master course, also doing a Clil postgraduate. Some experience in Clil over the last years, but I just really wanted to sort of consolidate my knowledge and formalize my knowledge about certain aspects of Clil. And it's a escola concertada, from P3 to second of bachillerato. We have international programs, but it's not an international school. We do a lot of exchanges, and starting from first, second of ESO, and different. Anyway.
Okay. Good. Interesting.
So you introduce yourselves. I don't know. Are they going to introduce you?
Well, we
Yeah.
introduce them briefly. We introduce ourselves,
Okay.
but we want to know who they are.
Fine.
We're more interested in who they are.
Exactly. Depending on
So,
what they're doing, we approach this in a way or in a different way.
all right.
Okay. So we want to know how.
Enjoy yourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Angela Stewart. I'm a language teacher in secondary school. I'm also the language coordinator at the school, so I'm trying to promote Clil and multilingual programs. And I have been working in the school for 7 years.
Okay. Good. Right.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm a primary teacher, but nowadays I'm a social worker with a girl that have autism, and with immigrants that came here and they don't know anything about Catalan or Spanish, and then I have to speak with them in English or in Spanish, depending.
Do you work in a school?
Yes.
Yeah, in a school.
In two.
In 2 schools.
Yes.
Wow, lucky. Okay.
Very close.
Hi, I'm Lorena, and I'm an English teacher in a primary school, and I'm an arts teacher too. I do Clil in Latin crafts, and I did JET program the last year. So.
Okay. And you upload videos on YouTube? No? So there's someone here who uploads videos on YouTube with the kids? No?
Well, we do, but
Not intentionally.
With kids, I mean your classes.
no.
Well, I'm in JET. I had to do it, but maybe
Okay, you see, I know a little bit. Well, you know, research, internet is gives you all the answers.
Well, my name is Alba, and last year I finished my degree here in the UAB. My primary education degree with the English minor, and nowadays I'm an English teacher in an English school. So, and now I'm taking this master.
Okay.
All right.
My name is Loina. I teach secondary as well, English, and together we work as jet trainers in Catalonia. So there are many. It's a large group of trainers, and we also attend the master.
Okay.
My name is Monica. I'm a primary school teacher. I teach English, art and crafts as well, and I'm working with Loida part-time as well. I'm attending the master.
My name is Borja. I'm a secondary teacher in a high school near Barcelona, and I teach visual arts in English.
All right. Okay. Good. Excellent. Well, we talked about today's session and how hard it must be for you to have the second round now from 7 to 9. Okay. And we thought either we make this interesting or they're going to just die
Or hate us or both.
Okay. Yeah. So we thought that the best thing to do to start and to give you a little bit of a nice approach to this is to raise your levels of serotonin. Yes. Okay. So we brought you some chocolate. You like chocolate? You like that? Now you know. Okay. So please feel free. Okay.
To dig in. Okay.
To have as many chocolates as you want. Okay? Right. Okay.
Now we got your attention.
Now we've got all there now. You got it. Okay. Now we brought lots of examples of what we're going to show you today. Okay? And then so later you can have a look at everything. Okay? And you can touch it, and you can take photographs, and you can do whatever you want with the materials, except for taking the reading, okay? Because they belong to the students, and we just ask them, okay, to give it to us today. Okay, so first of all, we want to say that we are teachers. We are teachers like you, okay? We come from a private school. We teach in a private school. It's a multilingual school. It's not an international school. There is a difference here between being an international school and being a multilingual school. Do you know what an international school is? What is the definition of an international school? Sometimes people get confused with the terms.
International school means the vehicle language is a given one. For example, St. Peter's maybe it has English as the vehicle language.
We have English as one of the main languages as well.
No, but it's the core one, you know, instead of Catalan.
But they follow another curriculum. They're not.
They follow an international curriculum. Okay, so that would be St. Peter's, the American school, Benjamin Franklin, the British school. Okay, those are international schools. We have, and for that you have to apply. As a school, you have to apply. Okay, you have to formally apply to become an international school. Okay.
So you follow the Catalan.
We do follow the Catalan curriculum. Okay, we are a private school, but we follow the Catalan curriculum. But we are a multilingual school. We are also a European school. Okay, you also have to apply for that. As a school, you can apply for an European school certificate, sort of. Okay, which means that you can teach in any of the European languages you decide to, if you can. Okay, but we are not an international school. We follow the Catalan curriculum. Okay, which means that we teach Catalan, we teach Spanish, we teach English, but in our school we teach 7 different languages. Okay, we have the 3 main languages, which are Catalan, Spanish, and English. And then we teach French and Chinese as a second language. And then we also have Russian, and German. Okay? We teach these seven languages in preschool. Then in primary we have 5. We don't teach German or Russian in primary, although there are students who continue having Russian and German lessons as an after-school activity. Okay? And then in secondary and high school we still have the 5 languages, but the students can choose whether they want to continue doing Chinese or French or both. Okay? But they still have Catalan, Spanish and English. Okay? So we're going to tell you a little bit about the process, the changing process, okay, we've made. Okay, we're going to tell you, we're going to tell you a little bit about how our school has changed, and we're going to tell you about what we were doing 10 years ago with languages, okay, and how we were managing the different languages. 5 years ago, everything changed, or we made it change, okay? Teachers made it change. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the integración lingüística, which is teaching German and Russian, okay? And we're going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing now, okay? So you will see the progress, okay? You will see how we started and how we are doing now, okay? We said that because we've, oops. Okay. Any techie person? No.
They're going to touch the keyboard, just in case.
Okay. So we're going to tell you about how we started teaching, or how the school was teaching languages. Okay, we were doing English as a second language, and we're going to show you how we moved from teaching English as a second language to teaching content in English.
In English.
Okay? Yeah. I have to say, although this is a Clil's master, I have to say that we are not very fond of. Don't tell Christina, okay? No, we are not very fond of Clil, okay? So, not of the term, because we apply it in a different way. Okay? Yes? So, we're going to start. Yes? Okay. This is what we were doing 10 years ago. Okay? I've been in this school for 10 years, so I've seen all this change happening. Okay? 10 years ago, in preschool, we were teaching 1 hour of English a day. 1 hour of English a day. The kids had Catalan most of the time, Spanish most of the time. Okay, there was no Russian, no German, and we only had 1 hour of English a day. Hello.
I have the other one. This one.
Yeah, this one. So we were teaching 1 hour of English a day, and we used a rotation system. We had English teachers, for example, if there were 3 P3 classes, we had 3 P3 English teachers teaching English at the same time. Okay, so when there was English time, the 3 English teachers would go to the 3 P3 groups, and we would teach English at the same time with our groups, okay? But we would have a rotation system in which today I have P3A, but tomorrow I will have P3B, and the day after tomorrow I will have P3C. Why did we do that? Because we wanted the kids to get used to the different teachers and to the different accents and to the different methodology that the teachers would use, okay?
You do this on a weekly basis?
On a weekly basis, yeah. Okay? So we would rotate, the English teachers would rotate, okay? The kids were doing the same, the content was the same, because we shared the content and we planned the lessons together, but there was the rotation system helped us to get to know the kids very well, okay? And the kids were getting used to British English, or American English, or English with a Catalan accent, or a Spanish accent, okay? Yeah, so they were getting used to it.
Very good as well.
Which is good, okay? Because not only the American English is correct, not only the British English is correct, but now, especially now, when we have so many teachers coming from so many countries and so many places abroad, you can't just say that this accent is perfect and this accent is not, okay? Because when a child, or when a student, or when they become adults, they go abroad, they're going to communicate with people who come from other places, okay? They are not only going to speak to British people or American people, okay? So we thought that rotation system was good for that. And it worked. Okay, I continue talking. Okay? What happened in primary was that we had 3 hours of English a week. 3 hours of English a week. Okay? And it was pure grammar and vocabulary. Pure grammar, vocabulary, textbooks, okay? Textbook, worksheets, grammar, 3,000 exercises for the past simple, okay? Do them all, we'll correct them, and that's it. Okay, and obviously they had the tests, okay, you failed, you passed, okay, the traditional methodology, okay. After that, well, in secondary we had the same system as in primary, okay, 3 hours of English a week, okay, but then we started introducing a subject, which was science. We were one of the few schools that introduced science in English, okay, for the first time in the schools. One of our teachers at the time, 10 years ago, collaborated with the publishing houses to prepare the books. Okay, they prepared the content for the science books, and the first science books that we had in the market were published by Santiago. Okay. Yeah, those were the first science books. Okay, so one of our teachers was part of this team who worked to make those books, okay, to publish those books. Okay. Oh, now we have this. Now we get it. What happened was that, this is very important, we want to talk about what was our role as teachers, okay? So in preschool we said there was 1 hour of English a day, okay? This was important. We had 2 teachers in the room, okay? 2 teachers. There was the Catalan teacher, who was the homeroom teacher, the tutor, and the English teacher. And what happened there was that there were 2 languages, okay? There were 2 languages working at the same time. But what happened was that the English teacher was mostly seen as the assistant teacher. You're laughing because you have been there, okay? They were the assistant teachers, and they were la de inglés, o el de inglés. You've been there. You're laughing because you've been there, okay? We've been there too, okay? El de inglés, o la, yes.
So, but it was considered by the form tutor to be the assistant, or by the students to be the assistant?
By the students.
By the students, they perceive that. Okay. So.
Well, and we also have to admit, okay, that the tutors didn't help much there.
No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But there were 2 very different roles in the class, which meant that the tutor was like the head teacher, and the English teacher was the assistant teacher. Okay. So what do you think happened with when the kids needed something in the class? What do you think happened there? When the kids wanted to go to the toilet,
They asked in English or in Catalan.
did they ask in English or in Catalan?
In Catalan.
They asked the Catalan teacher, okay, all the time, because for them it was easier. Okay, that's the language they used every day. It was their mother tongue, so they used Catalan. There were 2 teachers there, and the English teacher was trying, okay, was forcing the situation in English. Tell me in English, can I go, may I go? Because the child would go directly to the Catalan teacher. It's easier, yeah. Okay, I go to the Catalan teacher, the teacher understands me, I go to the toilet, full stop, okay? So this was the situation. In primary, it happened more or less the same, but we didn't have 2 teachers in the room. There was only the tutor finished their class, they left, the English teacher came to the class, okay? But we were still el de inglés y la de inglés, okay? We were the specialist teacher. with your books, with your radio cassette, because we had radio cassettes, okay? Radio cassette, and all the storybooks, and the photocopies, and the worksheets, and the textbooks, okay? But we were a specialist teacher, okay? What materials did we use? Well, here we were teaching English as a second language, purely, okay? It was English as a second language. So, in preschool, the resources we were using were audiovisual materials, okay, storybooks, nursery rhymes, lots of singing, lots of dancing. Yeah. Is anybody teaching in kindergarten here, preschool? No? You didn't have that pleasure? Lots of singing? I was teaching in kindergarten, okay? So 45 minutes, singing, dancing, story time, sing again, dance again. Okay? That was, because we didn't have textbooks, no worksheets, okay? Nothing, just speaking, okay, telling stories, and everything that would occur to you for 45-minute sessions, okay? We used flashcards, storybooks, the CD player, and what happened was... Ooh, no, this is not what happened. Okay? Well, this is our school, okay? Those are the flags at the entrance of our school, of all the languages we speak or teach, okay? This was important. Whatever language we were teaching, okay, this is a rule in our school, and it's still a rule. One teacher, one language, at all times, okay? It does not matter if I speak Catalan, if I speak Spanish, if I understand French, if I understand Chinese. If I am an English teacher, I only speak English to the kids. I can be speaking in Catalan to my colleague because she's the Catalan teacher, but to the children, I will never speak in Catalan or in Spanish. And it's a rule that all the teachers follow. So imagine in our school where we teach 7 languages, we have Chinese teachers, we have French teachers, we have German teachers, we have Russian teachers, English, Catalan, Spanish, and the teachers follow that rule. Okay?
I have a question. If a teacher is a teacher, for example, in secondary, do they speak also in English?
If the teacher is an English teacher, English.
Even for the most personal issues?
Yes. Obviously, I mean, we all use our common sense. If there is a child who has just bumped his head and is unconscious and you are trying to do something about that, you just change the language, okay? We use our common sense. But in normal situations, in everyday...
Any classroom context.
But I would say nowadays, 95% of the times is in English. I mean, a couple of years ago, we just commented this, a couple of years ago we went in colonias and one of my kids just fell on the bike and we had to take him to hospital. We were waiting in the sitting in the waiting area and we were speaking English because he was used to that. So when he's not something as, I don't know, he's got a difficulty, he really wants to say something, if it's a regular context, even in hospital, English is a natural language.
It's important to be consistent, okay? That's why we've made it a rule. It's not like, whenever you can, you always have to try and speak in English. No. It's a rule, okay? And so when the school hires language teachers, this is said. I mean, we tell the teachers in the interview before they get hired. And we actually ask that language teacher, do you feel comfortable speaking that language? Because if you don't feel comfortable speaking that language, perhaps this is not the place, okay? Because if a teacher does not feel comfortable using a language that is not their mother tongue, then you can't be a model to the kids, okay? You need to be able to speak in that language in any context, and we have those kids 8 hours a day, okay? So if you have to tell them off in the playground because they've done something wrong, or if there are 2 kids who are fighting and you have to go and tell them off, you have to tell them off in English, okay? And if you have to give a hug to someone because the child is crying, then you give them a hug, but you are comforting them in English, okay? And if you have to speak to the parents, and you have the parents and the child, you speak in English to the child, you speak in whatever language you want to parents. Okay? But it is very clear. You look at the child, you speak in English. You look at the parents, you use any language you want. So most of the times now, the parents, especially the young parents, they ask you to speak in English to them. Okay? What we usually do is to ask the parents first.
Yeah.
Would you like me to speak in English or in Catalan or in Spanish? There are some parents who say, oh, no, English. Okay? No.
So some of them try.
Well, some of them try.
They try,
Okay? Some of them say, yeah, no, in English. Okay. Then we do it in English. But to the child, there is no discussion on that. There's no question. Okay?
One question. What kind of families you have in your school? What's the context?
Okay. Our school is a private school. Private school.
Okay. So that's all said.
You get the context, right?
They're very nice families, okay? They're very nice families, but they are very demanding families as well, okay? In the sense that if you, if they send their kids to that school, it's because they want their kids to learn all those languages or to be in that language context.
I will say we don't have the kind of problems that, for example, you're a social worker, right? We don't have that kind of problems that you may encounter in different schools, as in, but we do have other problems, as like the level of demanding is huge. They understand this is the school I'm paying for, and this is the education I'm paying for, and so I'm gonna ask you to do this and this and this and this and this, and cover all this.
We have
Why
family.
is my child failing? I've paid.
So it's just expecting you to fulfill a certain level.
Yeah. We've got more often we've got parents who ask for an English teacher to be the tutor of the child, because they think that if you become the tutor to the child is going to be inspired, and the child is going to speak better English. Okay, right? This does not necessarily work like that. Okay, we'll tell you later how we have the tutorships. Before, 10 years ago, we had Catalan tutors. The tutors were Catalan, okay, and the English teachers were specialist teachers. Okay? So this is how we started the change. Suddenly, the school got an interactive whiteboard. Okay, and there was only one interactive whiteboard. That's 10 years ago. One interactive whiteboard for the entire preschool lot. That meant we had one interactive whiteboard for 300 students, okay? And we had to share the interactive whiteboard, okay? This meant that because we had new resources, which was an interactive whiteboard, we obviously had to look for new materials. So we said, okay, we've got these now, how can we use these? Okay. Remember that I said before that we didn't use any other materials rather than storybooks, songs, and nursery rhymes. We didn't use worksheets, we were not allowed, as a school, English teachers were not allowed to do worksheets. The kids were not writing anything, okay? So we got these and we said, oh wow, what can we do with this, okay? So obviously, the English teachers had to look for new resources, okay? How can we use these? And this is when we found, 10 years ago, this website. I don't know if you are familiar with this website. It's starfall.com. No? Starfall.com. Okay. Starfall.com, it exists, okay? It's on the internet, okay? Gave us the possibility to start teaching sounds to the kids, teaching phonics, okay? And because it was interactive, the kids saw the sounds, the letters, okay, the sounds, moving and making noises, okay, and telling stories. And for them, it was like a wow, okay? So a new world opened, not only to the children, but to the teachers, okay? Because we had 25 kids, like in a class of 25 kids, actually learning the sounds. Those sounds were moving, they were making noises and sounds, and there were songs, and there was a story behind the phonic group, and the kids started learning, learning the sounds so quickly that we went from sounds to sentences, from sentences to texts. So this new tool triggered all the reading program that we developed later. Okay? And this, we used a rotation system. There was one interactive whiteboard. It was in a classroom, like imagine this classroom, there was one whiteboard, and every day there was one group hobby. Okay? Yeah? So the kids only saw this once a week, basically. Okay? Then obviously we started looking for more materials to use, okay? And then we also found this, Zip Zoom English, okay, which was a software, okay, to learn the sounds, and then from the sounds to read sentences. It was also interactive, and it was fantastic, okay? And this came as a sample CD-ROM. One day, one of these publishing houses brought a sample, a CD-ROM, okay? We tried it and we thought like, wow, we need this, okay? Then we looked at the price. It's an American brand, okay? We looked at the price and we said, wow, the school is not buying this, okay? Because it was really expensive, like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was like 2,000 euros. I'm talking about 10 years ago, okay? So the school obviously said, no way, okay? Use this sample, okay? So we needed more materials, okay? And then, yep. That is when we said, okay, so we don't have this software, but the kids are reading. What can we do? Hello? What can we do to make these children read? Okay, and then suddenly we had all these English teachers sitting down and thinking, okay, which is very, very good. English teachers sitting down and thinking, okay? What can we do? Because these children are reading, or at least these children are learning the sounds. So then we said, okay, they have seen the sounds because we showed them with the webpage. Why don't we give them the sounds to take home? And so they practice at home with their parents. So we made the sounds, okay? We printed out the sounds, we cut them out, okay? We laminated them in a very nice, format, okay? We gave them different sounds. There were children who had already started reading sentences. So we said, okay, we're not just giving them the sounds because we've got children who are reading words. So let's give them the sounds, some words, some sentences, and then what happens to those fast learners? Fast learners were reading full sentences. So we said, let's give them the sounds, let's give them some sentences, let's give them a little book. Short sentences. And we put all these inside one of these plastic pockets that you can get at the Chinese shop. Okay? 80 cents. Okay? And so we made the reading pack. And for each class in P5, that was P5, 5-year-olds, every Friday we gave 2 reading packs. 2 children in the class were getting the reading pack home. They would take the reading pack home, they would read with mommy and daddy. We would explain to the parents, okay, what that was, instructions, listen to your child is going to be doing this at home, listen to your child, praise your child's work, okay, and then bring the reading pack back on Monday. It was so successful, the kids liked it so much that we had to make 5 reading packs per class, okay, because when we gave out 2 every Friday, the following Monday we had to wait for a week, and then 2 more kids were getting in. And the rest of the kids were like, when am I getting the reading pack? When am I getting the reading pack? Me. And we said, oh, these kids are so excited about reading. So we said, 5 reading packs per class. And that's how they started reading, not only in class, but at home. And that was very important because the parents were aware of what they were doing at school. The parents started to know how their kids were learning how to read in English. And then the parents would speak to the English teacher and they would ask, can you give me a little book, apart from the reading part, can you give me a little book so that my child can read at home? Before, we didn't get that from parents, okay? There was no, either there was no interest or, well, they didn't know what we were doing, okay? But now the child went home with this, the parents saw it, they liked it, and they asked for more. So this is how the relationship between the families and the English teachers changed, okay? Because sometimes when you are learning English, parents don't know what you're doing, okay? Porque eres la inglés, o inglés, okay? But if the kids go home and speak about this, the parents know what the English teacher is doing. And you may get parents who want to participate or collaborate or ask you questions, okay? Which is also very important, okay? So our kids were starting to read, and then obviously we said, okay, we have to do something about this because they're going very fast. They're reading. We don't have anything. We are not using any textbooks. We have no worksheets. What can we do? And so that's when we started looking for reading programs. Okay, what is in the market that we can get so that our children read, but in a more formal way. Okay, like very organized. These are the sounds. After this group, we'll teach this group. After this group, and so the kids will learn following like a formal pattern. Okay, so that's when we found Jollyphonics. Do you know Jollyphonics? Have you ever heard of Jollyphonics?
No.
No. It's a reading program. There are many. Okay, we just came across with this one. We liked it. Because it has, we still use it, okay? You've got posters, the sounds are divided into groups, you have different puppets that you can use, there's a DVD, there are CD-ROMs, you have a whole pack, okay? So the teacher is like, wow, I've got everything in the box, okay? So we use this one, but there are many reading programs, okay? Yeah. What happened? What happened was that our P5s moved up to first grade. And in first grade, these kids were reading. They were starting to read in English. They understood, they were actually understanding what they were reading. So we said, okay, we can't do Jollyphonics anymore because we are in primary. What can we do in primary, okay? And then we started looking for more resources and we found Walkflix, okay? Walkflix is it's like a reading program as well, okay, but for primary children, okay? We subscribed, and here you've got different books, okay, different topics. You can choose the topic, you can choose the level, okay, and the kids can read. And we continued using this with the one interactive whiteboard we had. But now we included in this rotation system primary as well. So we had lots of children from preschool, and now we have primary as well. One whiteboard, okay? We managed, okay? It was difficult, but we managed, okay? But we had two different reading programs, one for preschool and one for primary, okay? We only used this one 1 year. We only subscribed for 1 year because after 1 year, the kids had read all the books there, okay? And they did not offer different books. So we said, okay, 1 year is fine, more than enough, and we didn't continue with the subscription, okay? This is when we said, okay, our children are reading, what can we do? Let's look for this program, let's use this program, okay? We continued using Jollyphonics, but then we also thought, okay, there's something, we're missing something here. These kids are going very fast. We don't know what to do. How do children in other schools do it? Okay? How do they teach English, or how do they teach students to read in English in other schools? And because we were going so fast, we asked in other schools in Barcelona, but we couldn't find any other school that was going at the same pace as us. The publishing houses didn't have any materials for us. They were either too low, or they were not what we were looking for. Maybe they had books that were okay for third primary kids, but we were looking for something for first graders. the level was not, the level didn't match with the ages, so we said, we need to look for something, but we can't find it here. So then, it's when we visited a school abroad. This was the first, this is real, okay?
That's her.
That's me, okay? That's me. It's the first time our school went abroad, okay? As teachers, we went to the UK to visit a school. Okay? We contacted a school and we asked, can we come? Because we're looking for this, can we come? And they said, yeah, sure, come. So they invited us from this Netherfield school in UK. It was also the first time they were, they had guests, okay, from Spain, right? And this school showed us their reading program, UK, British reading program, okay? When we came back from the UK, we obviously had to plan everything, okay? We had seen the reading program in the UK, and we had to apply this reading program to our school. But of course, we also had to continue doing the phonics, because we had kids who were coming up, they had to still learn sounds, they had to read, so we had to plan everything from the beginning, okay? So this is real, okay? If you look at the date, because I found this in my notes. This is the plan, okay? The books and materials needed for the year 2011, for the school year 2011-2012. Okay, this was the plan, okay, on paper, right? For first grade, all the kids had to do phonics. We had a science book, because we were teaching science in English, and then we asked all the parents to buy a pack of 6 little readers, okay, that we found in the UK. Okay, it's the Oxford Reading Tree. You can find that now here in Spain. It's called the Oxford Reading Tree. There are different stages, different levels for the different ages, and they come in packs. So all the children in primary, because that was graded, okay, look here in year 1, we were doing stage 4. Okay, stage 4, level 4 in year 1. So we graded the titles, and all the primary children had to read. They had a pack of 6 little readers they had to take home and read. And we obviously needed to do a follow-up of that. We needed a record of what they were doing, how they were reading, okay? That's the Oxford Reading Tree. That's a sample, okay? And then in that UK school, we saw that the kids had those Oxford Reading Tree books, and together with the book, they went home with a reading record. Okay? The reading record was something very simple. Okay, I brought the original. Okay, I've got it somewhere. I'll show you later. These were A4 sheets. Okay. This is a word. It's a chart. Date, title of the book, pages read, comment from the parents. So the kids would take home the reader and the reading record, and the only thing they had to do was to read at home. Read 3 sentences. The parents had to sit down with the children and listen. And the parents had to write a comment. And we obviously told the parents, the comment has to be positive. Okay, like praise your child. Very good, well done, nice pronunciation. Sign it, and then the kids would bring it back the following day. And then every day, the first 5 minutes of class, the English teacher would collect the reading records and would check. Who has brought the reading record, who has read, who hasn't, what parents have signed up, because then you could see what children were reading at home with parents and who could not read because maybe their parents were not at home, because they didn't. Some of the times that the children said, es que yo estoy con mi abuela, y mi abuela no me entiende, right? Right? Poor children. And we said, it's okay, just read to your grandma, that's fine. It's okay, just
Grandma
yeah, just read it to your grandma, okay? So we started doing that. Then what happened when the first graders moved to 2nd grade and then to 3rd grade? we couldn't use the Johnnyphonics anymore because we were doing, they had puppets and there were too childish for that. Then we also had to look for more materials, but not for primary. And so we found this series, okay, which is it's sound-phonic book. They are very little booklets, okay, and it's school field scenes or something like that. That's the name. Okay, I'll show you a sample later. But now the primary kids continued working on phonics, but the format, okay, the interface was more like a primary child. It was not so child. It didn't have puppets, okay, or chants or songs. It was, more primary. Yeah. What else? Okay. This I found it interesting because 3 weeks ago, more or less, 3 weeks ago, I went to Wales, and I met Ada. Ada is a second grade child, okay? And she told me, "Oh, I'm reading, that's cool." I said, "Oh, fantastic, what are you reading? Show me a book." She had an Oxford Reading Tree book, the same books I showed you before, and she showed me the reading record. This is 3 weeks ago. And the other reading record I showed you was like in the year 2011, okay? So 6 years later, in the UK, they are still using the same system. And this is what the year 2 kids in the UK are reading. I have a picture of the book, the level. This is the level of the year 2 kids in the UK now. Okay? This is what we can do in our school in P5. Okay? So it was, for me, it was shocking because in the year 2011, I went to the UK. We took this idea of the reading record. We applied it in the school. And now, 6 years later, they still use the same method in the UK. And they still have the level, okay, of 6 years ago. Which means that, and we talked about this in the school, which means that, okay, we're doing okay. Okay, our children reading, okay, we're doing fine, okay? But this is an Oxford Reading Tree book, a real one, okay? They're using this book in year 2 in the UK, in one of the schools, okay? Okay, so now after this, we'll continue later, we said that we were going to give you a break, because we would like you to discuss how would you approach, or if you are doing that in your schools now, or how do you approach reading or speaking in your schools as teachers? What do you do? What do you think it works in your school or with your students? Every school is different, okay? And students are different as well. So what do you do to make your students speak or read? Yes? You? Okay? Go on. In the meantime, I'm going to have porridge. Oh, you didn't have many chocolates, huh? No? Okay, so your certain level is already up.
Should I stop recording?
I know that's you 5 last year. Yeah.
An original. You have
They also have obligatory reading that they have to read. I know, but some of the curriculum requires that they read.
But this
Like a shop. These are all my kids. My kids are everywhere. And this goes. You have it?
It's the same. I think that if you use a routine, for example, to pass the list,
And
They have to talk
say
about what
whether
they've read.
we don't do much.
So
say
you
the
use that
day
as your
because
format to your platform, get them to actually speak.
right, and you must read the or compulsory reading, or for example,
What we have is like
reading
flashcards of
communication.
stories.
I don't know the
They
and the animals is the part of the animals, but no context. Say, wings, this.
Should it takes readings home?
No context, and then the story is about
It's fine because
the rabbit about
It's
it.
not much
Talk to
pressure.
the parents. Why? You know? Say,
because they have to sign like for parents.
so I changed.
Well, it's not, I don't think it's a big
I
homework
put
for
them
parents.
all-
What I
Our
hear
kids'
in
full skills
other
are
schools
generally
would be that parents listen
You
to
know
the
that.
kids. But not because it's
listen to
homework.
them, so they say,
But we had that as well. Okay? The most important thing, the word for us was to explain things very well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we sent out letters explaining what was that, why we were doing that, and what we were asking from the parents. And we explained that very well. We do not expect you to speak English. We do not expect you to correct your child when they are reading. We do not expect you to do a reading for. We just want you to listen to your child. That's what we said. Only listen. We don't want anything else from you, because the kids wanted to be listened to. Okay, they want, because you need to give them a reason to read. Okay, you just can't say, okay, you have to take this book home and read, because they will go like, what for? Why? But if you ask the children to read, and you tell them, I want your parents to listen to you because you read so well, then the kids go home and say, Mommy, I want you to sit down and listen to me because Miss Laura told me that I read really well. And so the parents should sit down and listen to the child. We had parents who didn't understand English, parents who didn't understand, but the parents would go like, and we just asked them to write a comment on the reading record, and the comment could be in Catalan, in Spanish, in English. And there were a few parents who would reply in English, trying to write a comment in English, which was very nice. But we accepted all the comments, and all the comments had to be positive.
It's a very good idea. I might steal this idea.
Yours, it's yours. We say,
I'm doing more like a writing activity with her grades. It's that we have the class mascot. That's
It's fairly spontaneous, and it has to be something that is really
so
attractive.
this is
No, it's that I did realize you because I was in
But that's the only way that I think I can
last year.
really,
and
really
the pictures
hard
of them
to get them motivated to actually want to do it, because they don't see the usefulness of it, because they're training only for the exam. They feel like they're training only for the exam. And if they think it's wasting your time.
But this is where we will go next time, okay? The kids need to see a need. There must be an objective. They would always ask, why? Why do I do this? So you always have to give them youngster. Because, and that's what they get motivated. There is no reason.
in Catalan might be boring.
But this happens, and it happens in Bachillerato, and it happens in primary, and it happens in preschool. They need to have a reason to do it. Shall we continue? I'm sorry to interrupt. Okay, this is what happens when you're okay, you can have a look at it later, okay? We brought everything we have. But we've got more stuff. We're very happy, okay? But we brought you the real materials, okay? This is, I mean, this is the original, I bet, okay? This was the original copy we made of the reading record, and you see, it's A4 sheet, okay? It's nothing really
Spectacular.
Spectacular.
Simple and easy and
that's it. Okay, we still have, this was our old logo, okay, of the school, like, I don't know, 6 years ago or so, okay? And we didn't have the reading packs, okay? Those reading packs I was talking about, they just disappeared. Okay? We don't know where they went. But I brought you an example, okay? We found this beautiful book.
Oh yeah.
Okay? Read to me. Okay? This was the idea of the reading pack, okay? I'm going home with the reading pack and I'm going to read to you, okay? My mommy is going to want me to read to them, okay? And inside we would do this, okay? As I showed you before, we would have the sounds, okay? Laminated, and then we would have sentences, very short sentences. And these we took from old textbooks that we had in the school. Those books that you're piling up and you don't know what to do because they are outdated, okay? If they're piling up, they might be useful for something else, okay? So we just cut out the pictures and the sentences, okay? We laminated them. And then we found like very short stories, okay? I was a gingerbread man, okay? With very short sentences, nothing difficult, okay? And then we had, exactly. And then we would have those little books. This is an example, okay? This was from a science book, okay? But we had little books, old books with short sentences as well that they could read, okay? So this was the idea of the reading pack, okay? I brought you for you to have a look later, the booklets that we used for primary, okay? We don't use them anymore, okay? Because those kids who came from kindergarten, because we increased the amount of hours of English, and we started teaching them the sounds when they were in P1 and P2, P3. Those kids do not need to do phonics in primary, because their level of English is very good, and they have already learned those sounds in preschool. They are already reading in P5 with a beautiful accent, and they don't do the phonics. They don't need it. Okay, they read already. Okay. Shall we move on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You can have a look at that later. Okay. Then we needed another change. All these kids were reading. Their level of English was very good. 5 years ago, this is what happened. In preschool, we started having 3 hours of English a day. 3 hours of English, okay? One teacher in the room, Catalan or English, okay? Because English teachers or the English department said, we can't make those children speak in English at all times if there are 2 teachers in the room. If there is a Catalan or a Spanish teacher in the room with the English teachers. The English teachers have not that power, okay? Yeah. So we asked if it was possible not to have the Catalan or Spanish teacher in, okay? And so we granted, okay? English teacher in the room, and ta-da! The English teacher became the homeroom teacher, okay? Not all the tutors became, not all the English teachers became tutors, but some of them, some English teachers started being the tutor, okay? Yeah? You can imagine the revolution in the school. Yeah, all the Catalan and Spanish teachers were, okay? English
Yes,
teacher.
the Marquesas.
The innovation of the English teachers.
An English teacher cannot be a tutor. Okay?
No, a specialist cannot be a tutor.
Or a specialist can be a tutor.
Specialist.
That's
your
right.
case. You don't have what is required to become a tutor. Okay, so okay, this was change. We started changing the methodology, so we needed a change in the role of the teachers as well. Okay, if we wanted to give more importance to English, the role of the teacher had to change. We had to give importance to the English teacher. The English teacher couldn't be an assistant teacher, or the English subject could not be like, okay, one of those not so important subjects. Okay, so the role of the teacher changed. And how could that change? Giving importance to the English teacher. How could we give importance to the English teacher? Putting the English teacher at the same level as a Catalan teacher, as a Spanish teacher. So they started becoming tutors. Okay? So, the hours of English increased in preschool, and in primary we started doing more subjects in English. At the beginning we had English and science. We did 3 hours of English, 2 hours of science, okay? But now we included art and music and maths, okay? But we kept the rule. The rule was one teacher, one language, okay? Regardless of your role, if you're a tutor or if you're a specialist teacher. One teacher, one language, okay? And no translation. We have never worked with translations. We have never translated anything. Never. No matter how hard it was to communicate with the children, there was no translation. Okay? The other teacher was supposed to be here with us today. She got sick today, she couldn't come. But it's a shame because she's an English teacher. She started working with us. She started working with us 5 years ago. She was supposed to explain this speech, okay? And she started with P1s, P2s, and P3s. Can you imagine how hard it can be for a P1, P2, P3 teacher, okay, when you have 25 children, okay, who can't understand a word of what you say, okay? It was very hard, okay? It was very hard for the English teachers, okay, because there was this rule, one teacher, one language. And if the teacher didn't follow the rule, okay, you may not be here next year. Because there was one rule, and that rule could not be broken, okay? One teacher, one language, and the teachers followed that rule, okay? But it's not the same for a bachillerato teacher to be speaking in English to students than for a kindergarten teacher to be speaking in English to 3-year-olds when they are crying, where's my mommy, where's my mommy? And then really the English teacher is trying to explain with the signs and moves, and well, it's very tiring, okay? But it's possible, okay? It's possible. And if you're consistent, maybe the first term is very hard, second term is better. They start to understand, okay? Sit down, stand up, let's go, okay? Second term is better, third term is okay, okay? But we have to follow that. If you don't follow that, the kids get confused with the language, okay? They don't know whether to speak to you in Catalan or in English, because yesterday you spoke to me in Catalan, but now you're speaking in English. So what language am I supposed to reply?
The easy one.
The easy one. They would always choose the easy one, okay? So there was all this change, okay? So we started going from teaching English as a second language to teaching English in a natural way. Why? Because we spent more time, as English teachers, we spent more time with the kids. We became tutors. This means that we went to the dining room with them, we fed them, we went to the playground with them. When they needed to go to the toilet, I was there as an English teacher, so they would come and ask me, may I go to the toilet? Very good English, go to the toilet, okay? And so, to make that even worthier, what we did was, okay, so we've got the Catalan teachers or the Spanish teachers, and then we've got the English teachers. But we can't have them both together. We can't have the two groups together, because then the kids are going to choose the easy way, which is, alright, Catalan and Spanish, okay, easier than English. So we said, okay, let's establish a rota system, a rotation system, which means this week all the English teachers will go to the dining room with them. So there are no Catalan teachers or Spanish teachers. So it's only English, feeding them in English. When a child wanted water, may I have some water? Can I? Okay. And then the other lot of teachers was doing playground duty. So they had all the English teachers watching them in the dining room, but all the Catalan and Spanish teachers watching them in plain time. The following week, we changed roles. So, we had all the Catalan teachers and Spanish teachers in the dining room, so the kids were able to use Catalan and Spanish, and all the English teachers in the playground. Okay? So we made sure the kids knew exactly what language they were supposed to use and when. Okay? And so the kids would not hear two languages at the same time. Okay? Yeah? So we went from spending more time with the kids, the exposure to the language was big. Okay? So the kids started using language in a more natural way, because they would ask to go to the toilet, because they would ask for help, they would raise their hand and they would, can you help me? Or they would try to communicate. Okay? Whereas when we were with two teachers in the room, they would try. Okay? So we went from oral to written language. Okay? They were starting to read and write some words. Okay? And then this is when we came. That's when we came across with letra llegada o letra de imprenta. Okay? This was like a big issue in the school. Letra llegada, letra de imprenta, because the kids were learning to write. Okay? Letra llegada, letra de imprenta. We spent long claustros talking about letra llegada, letra de imprenta. Okay? It seems like a small issue, but it is a big issue. Okay? We can talk about that later. The kids started having more vocabulary because they were with us and we were talking in English, so they would hear us. They would hear more vocabulary, natural words. Okay, the day-to-day life. Okay, so they would repeat the words.
The thing here is that in most of the schools, or the way we used to do it, well, most of the schools I think they do it, is ESL, right? The regular ESL, when you get written text and you just say, okay, let's read and let's write and let's read and let's write. But there's not so much oral context, because the oral context is just the English language. The English class, the English teacher, that's the only English they hear. So when we got all this English context and we started having more hours of English and real contact with the English language, it was not just the English I speak in the English class. It was just a language that I speak as means of communication. So that moment is when we started doing all this change. We realized, okay, it's not just, we're not learning a second language. We're just learning another language. The same way they learn Catalan, you learn English. So it's not just focus on written language, let's read, exercise 1, let's write. I don't know what your experience is. When I learn English, and I guess most of us, except for this one, we just learn how to write and read in English. But I did, in my experience, I didn't speak that much English. So when I was like 17, first time I went abroad, I got to the UK, I was like, okay, I know how to read, I know how to write, I know perfect grammar, but I've never spoken this language, like in a real context. So that's when you travel. You need to start thinking of structures and analyzing the language, and okay, the do, the auxiliary, the verb, and all these things. So we realized after doing all that our kids already had those structures in their heads. So they didn't have to think of this is an auxiliary, this is a present simple, this is a present continuous. They already knew all that because they learn it in a natural way. So that's why we decided to change the way of learning the language. So we decided, okay, we're not going to learn this is present simple. Let's all use present simple. How do we form present simple? We add the S in the third person and all these things. What happens now is that they know how to speak. They know the language, they know the sentences. And then maybe in secondary or in the last stages of primary, they start analyzing this language in terms of grammar. But that comes later. Okay, so I know all this. I had never realized that but I knew how to use it. But I never thought that there was an order or there was a logic and all this. I just learned how to use it. So what we decided to do was just focus on communication. Focus on oral communication. Communication is the key. So you want to say something, the kid is crying, you're in the playground, the kids come with a tray. Can I go? Can I go? I don't like soup. Do you have this situation in school? Like, I don't like the soup. And that's in English. So they need to learn all the vocabulary. They need to learn all the sentence structures. They need to learn how to ask a question. They need to know how to complain. Sometimes they get angry and they complain. They need how to do it in English. They need to know how to do it in English. So then that's when we realized that we had to do this change. So it was not just a change on more hours of English. No. It was just a change in the whole methodology had to change. It was not ESL anymore. We could forget about all these ESL books, those PET and FEST. We still do that. We still do FIRST and PET, but not with that methodology, as in present simple, present continuous.
As a goal for them to get a certificate.
Exactly.
We do that as well, okay? We still
we prepare them
for the Cambridge exams, and we prepare them for the certificate, and we do all that as well. But there's also room for that in the way we are teaching, okay? But it's true that by changing the way, okay, it's not only changing the resources, it's changing the way you approach the language. It makes a difference, okay? And you have to be consistent, okay? When a child comes to you and the child is trying, okay? The child try, okay? And if the child is making a mistake, correct the mistake, okay? Sometimes we think like, okay, just tell me what you need, okay? And you finish, the teacher finishes the sentence, okay? You just finish the sentence for the child because you're in a rush, okay? I just want to know what you need, okay? No, give the child time. The child needs to finish the sentence. If the sentence is not correct, correct the sentence. The child repeats. Give them the time, okay? I'm sure that the next time they will come to you and they will say the sentence correctly, okay? And if not, there is a third time, and that's fine, okay? But sometimes they would come and they would try to speak, and then they would say, es que no me sale, señor. Okay, well, I can wait, right? And then they would say, they would just leave, and then you go, okay. If you really need something, you'll come back, and you'll have to say it in English, okay? And then they would come and they would try to say it in Catalan, and you would go, excuse me, didn't understand a word of what you said. Try again. And then they would try, no, and they would say half Spanish, half English, and then you would go like, what language are you using? And then they would laugh, and they would go like, es que no sabemos decir, oh, go and find help, okay? And then they would go and look for someone whose English is better. And then they would bring the other person, okay, to the translation. And then you would listen to the other person and you would say, okay, that was very nice, but I want to hear you. Okay? So, okay, be your teaching. That child had the strategy, okay? The child went and looked for someone who has better English. The child came with the colleague, okay, and said, how do you say that in English? And then the other would help, okay? That is learning. And it's okay. It's learning. And the child is asking the other child how to say that, and the child is giving the answer, and the child reproduces the sentence, and then you go, well, that is when we go funny, and we say like, no, I can't help you. Okay. For all the 20 minutes. All the effort. Because maybe they want to ask
You're on your own.
Sorry.
Maybe they spend 20 minutes trying to ask you, have you seen my teacher? Okay. And then after the 20 minutes is when you go like, oh no, I don't know.
I'm a teacher in year 6 and first test. So most of the students, when they come to me, the level of linguistics is quite good. So they get this communication. You can have a regular conversation with them. I don't need to adapt my language. I used to teach English as a second language years ago, and I don't know if you got this situation where you need to lower your language, right? So you need to use simple words and with this pace of words, pronouncing every word. With this case, it's not necessary anymore. We're just speaking a natural language, using natural vocabulary. We don't need to use simple structures. They should get it. Because they get the communication. They know what you're trying to say. And when we have new students come in to 6th grade or to first ESO, most of them are not used to this kind of English context or language context in general, where with one teacher, one language, you need to change the language depending on the teacher you're talking to. And some of them struggle like this. And they start like, can I, well, puc dir-ho en català? Excuse me, what? Try, be patient. You need to be super patient, you know, because sometimes they struggle, especially the new ones when they're not confident using the language. And you need to be waiting. Okay, so you're trying to tell me that you want to whatever. So it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of time at the beginning. But once they understand that everybody speaks in English, that's just one more language they will use to communicate, then they just get it and they start trying. Obviously, they may have some grammar mistakes. Yesterday I go, and then when you say yesterday I went. But we'll correct it in this way, not as in kids. Past simple. You know, you just get, when they say yesterday I go, you just correct it. Or, I don't know, I was doing, or things like that. You just correct it in the way that mothers and fathers do with their little kids when they're kids. And they say, se me ha rompido, se me ha roto. It's just the natural language. And that's the way we do it with them.
And they have to get used. And this has nothing to do with having lots of resources or being in a private school, okay? Again, we are teachers like you, all right? But it does take time, okay? But as Bea said, you have to be consistent and patient, okay? Eventually they will do it, okay? But you have to give them the time. Sometimes it's just us, okay? We are not patient, okay? We want them to speak now, okay, and to say it correctly. It doesn't happen, okay? They need the time. Give them the time. They make mistakes. It's okay. They make mistakes. Okay, it's fine. We can make a mistake, and that's it. Okay, but you correct the mistake, say it again, or you make it. You know, it doesn't have to be very formal. It's like, ooh, I don't know what language you were speaking now. Try again, and then they will go like, and they will try. Ooh, I didn't get your accent. Try again, and they will go. But they like it. Okay, they like trying, and then if they've done it right, praise them. Wow, very good.
And do the Mandarin teachers do the same?
To the, sorry?
Mandarin? Do you do Mandarin?
Chinese.
Chinese?
Yes.
Chinese
So the
teachers
Chinese
only speak Chinese.
Oh, that's amazing. I enjoy it. Coming to one of the I don't speak Chinese.
Are you learning Chinese?
Well, okay. This is a school where this is what happens every morning, okay? Every morning before 9, we say our hellos, okay? Imagine in a multilingual school where every teacher speaks a different language, your hellos are like, ni hao, good morning, bonjour, ça va, bien, yeah, good morning. This is what happens every morning.
Teacher's room.
Okay? But it's ni hao,
Vocabulary, chino,
okay, yeah. But
Wow.
the kids understand, and the kids don't get confused. The kids know very well. One teacher, one language. And if at some point, because this happens, okay, I may go to Miss Bea's class, and the kids are doing French, so I go in the class and I say, bonjour, Stephanie, and the kids see me speaking in French, and they go like, okay? They get surprised, because that's not the language Miss Laura is supposed to be speaking, okay? Or the Chinese teacher is with us, and the Chinese teacher speaks in English with us. The kids go like, "Hola, English," because for them it's like shocking. It's like it's one teacher, one language. So why are you speaking another language?
They're not used to the other language. Even when sometimes you need to speak to one of the parents and the kid is in front of you, and then you change your language, and maybe I don't know, parents don't speak English and you speak in Catalan. Kids go like, "Ah, so you can speak Catalan." They get, and sometimes they say, "Doesn't suit you." Like, yeah, because I look like English.
Yeah.
Because they just get it. Like, this is the language you speak, and this is the language you're always going to speak.
But the kids understand, okay? And they don't get sometimes the questions we get from parents are, when the first time they come to school is, don't the kids get confused with so many languages? They don't.
What age do they start learning Chinese?
Chinese? All the languages?
No, Chinese.
All the languages. 7 months old.
We had a baby last year.
So you do the same kind of thing, and
We've got
playground.
It's a Chinese program.
Or
Chinese is taught as a second language, okay? It's a foreign language.
From which age?
7 months old. All the kids in preschool have Chinese, French, English, Catalan, Spanish, German, and Russian.
Oh my god.
So
All the languages.
compulsory. Compulsory.
All of them.
Oh, all of them. All of them.
That's crazy.
No, it's not.
They do it.
All of them.
How
All of
many?
them. Okay.
The Chinese teacher goes 1 hour a day to.
No, they have
P1?
Chinese twice a week, and they have French twice a week, and they have German twice a week, and Russian twice a week.
So they just recognize the person. They match the person with the language.
With the
That's
language.
it.
Yes.
In the same way that will happen to you if you go
Well-
to a new company and.
And the French teacher would go into the room, into a P1 room, and the French teacher would say bonjour, and the kids would reply bonjour. And then the Chinese teacher would come into the room, ni hao, and the kids would go,
Ni hao.
obviously P1, okay? We're talking about ni hao. But they recognize person, language. This is true, okay?
But it's the same way that we do it. I mean, we're used to this, and when you get used to speaking to a person in Catalan, you always speak to the person in Catalan. And if you get used to speaking to, I don't know, someone in Spanish, you always do it in Spanish. And we change the language
but
depending on the
we're
person.
talking about 2-3 languages.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
But they kids do it since
Yes.
they're like this.
But what do they do during these 2 hours? I mean, okay, yes, obviously they're
Some
going to be
say
using
yes.
their language and skills, but are they going to use it in a more functional way, or are they going to,
Maybe.
you understand what I'm trying to say?
It's taught in the same way as we taught English 10 years ago.
Okay, that's what I want.
No materials. It's storytelling, it's rhymes,
Yes.
it's songs and dancing.
It's
And
not like you do psicomotricitat in German or something like this.
no, but we do that in English.
Sure.
No, we do that in English.
Okay.
Most of the curriculum in preschool nowadays in our school is in English. We only have 1 hour of Catalan a week and 1 hour of Spanish a week.
And when they
The rest is in English, French, Chinese, German, and Russian.
And when they take the basic competency exam in Catalan,
You're talking about 6th grade?
yeah,
Well,
no problems.
Do we get the results? We got the results.
we got the results. Yep.
We're higher than the average. This is something that most of the people when we talk about English and all the use that we do in English, that's the question. But most of the years, I would say all of the years.
But we're talking about preschool, okay? Then when they get to primary, we follow the Catalan curriculum. So we've got an obligatory number of hours that we have to do in Catalan and an obligatory number of hours that we have to do in Spanish. The rest we can do in any language we want, okay? But all the primary kids have what they are supposed to have, the number of hours in Catalan and in Spanish, okay? But those kids come from having 80% of the curriculum in English, and they have no problem.
And what is the compulsory number of hours, out of curiosity? Is it about 40% in Catalan or something?
Yeah.
Which is a
We
lot.
work in a different way because our kids come to school. They're at school from 9 to 5. Okay, so we do have the lunch break, but our kids have more class time, I would say, than all the schools. That's why we can do Chinese and French.
Because we go to so many
They
things.
do 6 hours per day. Almost
Uh,
6.5.
1, 2, 6.
In 6th grade, it's 6.
Yeah.
It's 6
And they have a 2-hour break for lunch.
No,
Oh.
we have 1 hour break for lunch.
So you
45
have
minutes.
7 hours.
No, because they have
Yeah.
a break in the morning.
We have small break in the morning. We have lunch break, and then year 1, year 2, year 3 have another break, 20-minute break in the afternoon
Recess, okay.
for snack.
No.
Snack time.
No, not in year 6.
Okay, shall we continue?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so we changed the role of the teachers. We said that. Okay. More time. English teachers spend more time with the kids, which means more English. Okay, the kids are surrounded by more English. Yep. What else? And now, obviously, we have to change what we were doing in class. Okay. So if we are teaching language in a natural way, we have to teach significant content, okay? And we went from this, okay, is an example, okay? This is what we were teaching, well, imagine Catalan, okay? Or any other. This is what we were teaching, and we went from this to this, which I will show later, okay? Not very significant, okay? Lots of worksheets. The more worksheets you do, the more you learn. Okay? So we had even parents asking for more worksheets. Okay? We want more worksheets. I like this. Yeah, more worksheets and give me more work. Okay? And the kids will be doing, or they will be tracing letter A 50 times. Okay? Again, letter A, letter A, letter A, letter A, letter A. But this was not significant. Okay? That did it mean that the kids learned how to trace letter A? Yes. Okay, they knew how to trace letter A. But it didn't mean anything to them. Okay, they would take this home. Mommy would ask, oh, so what did you do here? And the child would go, una ficha. Una ficha. Okay, because there was no objective, okay? The kids didn't understand why they were doing that. So we said, okay, there's something is not working here, okay? So that's when we said, okay, we are teaching the triangle. We have to, English teachers in P3 have to teach triangle, okay? And first, we will give them 3, 4, 5 worksheets to practice triangle, triangle, okay? And triangle again. Why were we doing this when we could be teaching the triangles in a different way, in a more significant way, okay? So we brought Kandinsky into the classroom. Kandinsky has loads of shapes, okay? Circles, triangles, okay? So we went from this, okay, to this. We said, where can we find this? In museum. What is a museum? A museum is a place where you can find pictures like this one, okay? Who is Kandinsky? And we taught the kids what a museum was, where they could visit museums, and we had children who went to the museums, and the children were telling us that they went to the museum, and the kids brought their experience to class.
And then they bring their photographs and the pictures and the videos and everything.
And then we said, okay, let's teach them, or let's learn about Kandinsky. Who is Kandinsky? So we looked for the picture of Kandinsky, and we looked at the pictures he made. We brought samples of the pictures, okay? Where can you find the shapes? And the kids would, because they know what a circle is, they knew what a triangle is. Where can you find the circle? Whoa, and the kids would go here, 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 there. And what color is the circle? Oh, this one is blue and this one is yellow. Ah, but they were using the language, okay? And what more shapes can you find here? And then they would go, oh, there is a triangle, okay? And then they would ask, and how do you say this? And what shape? And the kids would ask. They would want to know more. And then if they were asking, we would give them the answers, okay? And then the kids would go home and say, we've done Kandinsky today, Mommy. And the parents would go, what? Okay, P3, okay? Kandinsky? Who is Kandinsky? And the kids would go, Kandinsky is a painter. And then the parents would say, how on earth have you learned about Kandinsky? Okay? And then at home the parents would show them who Kandinsky was on their computers. Oh, this was Kandinsky. Oh, and if you want, we can go to the museum next weekend. And then the parents would learn that this is what we're doing at school. And then the parents would come and say, wow, my child is so excited about what you're doing in class that we have taken him to the museum this weekend. And the child would go back to the classroom with the picture, okay? And the child would understand what a triangle is because he has seen it in a picture, okay? So we said, okay, this is what is working, okay? So why don't we do this? Okay, this was okay, sorry. Oh, we go some. Art. Let's do it in art. Matemáticas, art. And the kids were painting their Kandinsky. Okay? So we were not doing just learning English, and then we're doing art, and then we're doing maths.
we decided just to give a real context to everything, right? We're learning about Kandinsky, and at the same time, as in real life, we're learning about shapes, we're learning about vocabulary, we're doing art. It was more based like in competencias, the way we're doing that.
Shapes, triangles, matemáticas, with shapes.
And this is the way we do it in kindergarten. So we take basic concepts such as shapes or triangles, colours, things like that. But we also apply it to higher levels. We apply it to 6th grade. The next one is a video.
We looked at a Kandinsky painting and they tried to reproduce the pictures, okay? Each one of them at their own pace with the colors they wanted, okay? They chose the colors, they chose the shapes, okay?
This next one is another example. This is 6th grade. This is my class a couple of years ago. We're doing exactly the same, but with higher concepts. This is a science class. We were learning about electricity here. Was a circuit, was an electron. So we're not talking about shapes. So same idea applied to 6th grade. Different concepts, obviously. The level of difficulty, the level of complexity is obviously higher, but same way. You can.
So what we're watching now, it is a circuit made by students that they got the electricity. So Andrea and Bruno are the switch. So if Andrea doesn't touch Bruno, it wouldn't have any flow of electrons.
So this is the same idea. We just got into real context. We learn about electricity. We're not learning English as let's learn English. We're just applying English as the language we use to learn, in this case, science or whatever.
Would you say their English is good?
Yeah.
It's very good. Huh? These kids have you heard the structures they've used? We haven't taught those structures, okay? We haven't taught them that grammar. These kids are part of those kids who started reading. Okay,
with that.
Though they are part of the group of children who were reading in P5.
This one are 13 right now.
Exactly. Okay, so this is what reading and this is what learning the sounds made. Okay, we haven't taught them that grammar, and they are using that grammar because they learned the sounds, they learned how to use the phonics, they have heard the teachers speaking in English at all times. We have forced them to speak in English. They are using
encouraged.
I forced them. And they know how to use the language in a natural way. And now if we ask them, so what structure did you use? What conditional did you use? They have no idea.
Did I use the conditional?
They don't know, okay. They will see the conditionals, okay, but they haven't learned it that way. Okay, so again, we saw this and we said, okay, we need to find something else, okay? This is constant, teachers, constant, okay? It's like, it's very demanding, okay? Because we are in a process of constant search for new things, okay? So, this is what we said, okay, let's make this a big thing. And we said, we have to start working with topics. We said, okay, we've got textbooks, or we've got the choice of working meaning, with the meaning, okay? So we said, let's choose. We can't do both things, okay? It's exhausting having to work with the textbooks and having to work in this way.
And basically it made no sense.
It made no sense. Okay. So we said, no books. So we got rid of all the books in primary and in secondary and in bachiller. And you can imagine the big crisis. Okay, in a school.
5 years ago? Or
That was
4 years ago?
Less than 4. 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Yeah. 2 or maybe 3 years ago. 3 years ago. No books, no textbooks, no nothing. Okay? What are we going to do? We're going to focus on a book and on films. We're going to choose readers, and those readers need to have a film, because then we will work literature and the cinema. Each group in primary had 3 different topics, 3 different books to read, 3 different films to see. Okay? No books. And this meant that we had to work through competencias, which meant that we had to work all the subjects, mathematics, physical education, art, IT, robotics, Catalan, Castellano, Chinese, French, English,
Russian.
Russian. No, we don't do Russian in primary. Okay. But we had to do. Listen, give us a break.
Next week.
Okay, so we had to put all that together, and all had to make sense. Okay. So we thought, like, okay, we need to work mathematics, art, through a book. Okay. We sat down, all the teachers sat down, and from the story of a book, they all got the content or the objectives of their subject. It's not easy, we can tell, but it's possible. Okay? But that's when we went from teaching through a textbook through significant teaching. Okay? This is an example of a project we did in P3. Okay? Well, obviously the kids didn't read Alice in Wonderland. Okay? The teacher read Alice in Wonderland, read the story in class P3. And Alice in Wonderland, the preschool kids had to do motor skills, art, maths, IT, robotics, knowledge of the world, science, all these areas of knowledge have to be reflected here, okay? And all have to be worked through the same story. So all the teachers had to sit down and think how they were going to work on their subject area and link it to the book, okay? And this is when we came up with the lab book, which is what we wrote you, okay? The lab book is the next step after this. We got rid of this, okay? And we put all that together, all the mathematics, all the motor skills, all the art, all the IT, all the robotics, everything the kids were doing, and we put it
within a context.
Within a context, obviously. So I'm going to explain this, for example. Okay? This was a P4, okay? They read a book which was Aliens Don't Like Underpants, or something like that, okay? So they read the story in class, okay? They watched a little bit of the movie, and then all the context was about aliens and traveling to another planet. So what did the kids do? They learned about planets in knowledge of the world. P4 children learning the planets. When we usually have it on the curriculum in primary in 3rd grade or 5th grade, year 5, okay? P4 children were learning about the planets. They were reading and they were writing the names of the planets, okay? The kids, okay, about the planets, here for example, because the aliens looked funny, okay, they had a funny shape, there was a painter who made funny shapes. Miro. So we learned about Miro. We looked at paintings by Miro. We learned about different shapes. We also did the colors, okay? But we also tried to find within Miro's paintings something that looked like an alien. And they found this Philosopher painting. And through this, we worked the body. And They worked the body in motor skills. And they learned about the parts of the body and how to write the parts of the body. Al nas, al cap, al cos. And they were doing that in Catalan as well. Lectoescritura. Okay? Then they had to learn about shapes as well, mathematicas. So they learned about constellations and the stars. Okay? And in motor, they linked mathematicas and motor skills. So the kids had to make constellation using their own body. We took a picture, okay, of themselves, and they drew the constellation. They had to draw straight lines. This is mathematicas in before, okay? But they were doing mathematicas, motor skills, and science because we had to know what a constellation was, okay? All these QR codes that we added were the process. The parents want to know how they did this or what this means. So we added the process. This is what your child has been doing and this is what your child has learned. It was very important that the parents learn how all this works, okay? The kids made their own passport because they were traveling to a different planet, okay? So they made their own passport, and on the passport they had to write their names. They had to read, so they were doing reading in English, but they also had to write. So they were doing reading and writing. But this was fun because it was their passport. This was not fun because it didn't mean anything to them. But this was their passport, okay? And they also had to draw their picture. And they were doing art here, okay, as well. They had to draw themselves, all right? So, by working like this, okay, and every child had their own lab book, okay? This was personalized, okay? Every child had their photograph, every child had their passport. The videos were personalized as well. They had their planets, okay? We have examples of different topics, okay? But it was so successful, okay? Oh, we even organized for Alice in Wonderland. Have you read the book? There is this tea party. We organized a tea party in the school, okay? So they drank. We made an invitation and we invited them all to come to the tea party. And we had a tea party in the playground. We brought tea, not the real tea, okay? But we brought fruit infusions, which the kids could drink. And we asked the kitchen to make some cookies, okay? So they actually had cookies and tea. And we invited some teachers. We had the French teacher, Francois, who dressed up as the Mad Hatter. So we put him a hat, okay, and he came, he was invited as well. The kids understood why we were celebrating this tea party because we had read it in the story, okay? So everything made sense for them, okay? Now, we changed the places of the learning, okay? Learning takes place everywhere in the school, not only in the classroom. In the same way that the tea party was in the playground and they learned, and it was very funny because they would teach each other how to serve tea, okay? And they would ask, or they would say, would you like some tea? Okay, and for them it was funny, like, would you like some tea?
The thing about regular, the years of learning, you will know, you got unit 1, and that unit is focusing on this vocabulary, for example, I don't know, the shapes, or traveling, or holidays. So you're learning that specific vocabulary, and then it's focusing on some specific grammar structures, such as past simple, past continuous. So you're combining these specific vocabulary and these specific grammar structures, and then you are writing, creating, whatever, depending on the book. If we do it this way, we realize that any vocabulary that comes out and any grammar structure, right? We will show you some cases. In this case, who you like? Can you imagine how old was this? This was 2nd grade, 3rd grade? Who?
These kids?
These kids.
These are she's a P5.
Okay. Can you imagine a P5 saying, would you like? Something that no one, you're not teaching us, this is a conditional. There are certain words in a real context that they use just because they need them in that real context. So they're not learning, they're learning this is a teacup, this is tea, we like to see it. They're not learning specific vocabulary. It's not everything in a box. they're just learning language in a real structure, in a real context, within the course.
So we chose all these readers for all these primary. We had topics, different topics in all preschool, okay, and different topics in all primary, okay. And here comes one of the best moments we've lived in the school, because the first graders, these are the first graders, they had to read El Quijote, Mi primer Quijote. First graders reading Quijote, okay. At the beginning, the first grade teachers were like, how are we going to ask these kids to read El Quijote? Well, there is a version, there is an adapted version of the book for the first graders. So we had the first graders reading El Quijote, Mi primer Quijote, but we also had the year 6 students doing Cervantes, okay? It was part of the...
that was last year, that was the 500th anniversary last year.
So we said, listen, the first graders learned so much about El Quijote. They learned about Castilla-La Mancha, they learned about Toledo, they learned about Cervantes, they learned a lot of things, okay? And these kids were about to start reading Cervantes. So we said, okay, why don't we do something about this? We're going to ask the first graders to teach these 6th graders about Cervantes and El Quijote. Okay? We're going to put them together. And the first graders are going to teach the year 6. Okay? And this is what we did. Okay? We went to the playground. We put all the first graders, they were complete. Okay? First graders, the first graders brought everything they had. Okay? The books, the big book, a picture. They brought a sword and a shield. Okay? And they brought their little book. Okay? They were so excited. They were very nervous. These kids, when we told them, this afternoon, you're going to tell the 6th graders everything you know about the Quixote. These kids spent the entire morning practicing what they were going to say, okay? Which means, like, they were practicing reading a little bit from the book, they were practicing with each other what sentence they were going to say, they were asking the teachers, is it okay if I say this? No matter the language, okay? Because the book they were reading was in Spanish. They had to speak in Spanish, not in English, okay? And then we asked the 6th graders at the same time in the morning, this afternoon, you're going to have the year 1 students teach you. So you have to be very respectful because they are very excited. They really want to tell you about Cervantes and about Don Quixote, so you have to be very respectful and listen to them.
And they love it.
And they loved it. And we did this, you see this level difference? We asked the 6th graders to sit down, okay, on the grass. And we asked the 1st graders to stand up here. Why do you think we did that?
To make them feel important.
It's less intimidating.
Yeah.
Especially
More important.
To make them feel important. They needed to feel important, okay, the 1st graders. And also to make these ones
more humble.
It's like, hey, okay, sit down. They are the important ones here. Listen to them, okay? Because imagine for a year 1, a year 6 student is like, oh, okay. So we changed the level, okay, so that they didn't feel, as you said, intimidated by the year 6 grade. By the year 6 students, okay? Yeah. And let's see if we go with it. We had the year 1 teachers and all the year 6 teachers. If they can't hear them, no, we don't have the people.
No.
Well, I may find it. Look at this, the year 6 faces. This was the most rewarding experience a teacher can have, okay? having all these first graders speaking about El Quijote and speaking about Cervantes and where Toledo is and how long it takes to go from Barcelona to Toledo because they learned that, and if you can go by train or by plane, or if El Quijote was riding a horse or a donkey, okay? And having a look at the 6th grade faces where they were like, what? Did you want kids to know all that? It was very, very good. This combination of students, fantastic, okay? And this is what it's really important, apart from the contingut, okay? What else? Quick. Okay, important. Peer teaching, okay? Scaffolding and peer teaching leads to the meaningful use of the language, okay?
We just got you some examples. This is just a couple of weeks ago. In 6th grade, well, we're reading Treasure Island. I probably just students. So we're learning about, well, we're linking this the way what Lara explained about Alice in Wonderland. Right now we're reading Treasure Island. So pirates traveling to islands, so they need to learn how to get there. So they need to find a way to find the island. So we're learning about orientation, ways of orientating themselves. They can use a compass, they can use the stars and the sun, and they can use a map. At the same time, in 2nd grade, In 2nd grade, they're reading, what are they reading?
In 2nd grade, they're reading the Jungle Book.
So they're learning about travels, and they were learning about orientation. So we say, again, okay, let's get them together. So they're learning about orientation, let's do this together. So we got the 2nd graders and the 6th graders. This was kind of a game. They needed to find some ways. So we get them practical, right? Let's get them into practice. Let them use it. As the activity was in English, we the teachers were talking in English, we realized, well, you see, they're mixing the languages.
So should we start from here? Aquí no.
Can I see that, Lisa? Can I see that thing in your iPad? This was a map to find the stars, so they knew which way to go. They found Polaris.
Where is the sun? Yes, west.
Okay. So where is south? So we got them working together just to get to this objective. So it's not just as I'm learning orientation, I'm learning south, west, east and south because my book says so. I'm learning it in a practical way. I'm learning with all the kids, I'm teaching them how this works. It was actually the 2nd graders telling them, no, that west is there. But they were the ones pulling from that.
So we have these 2 readers, these 2 books, and we connected them, okay? They don't have any connection, okay? They're not linked anyway, okay? Anyhow.
There's no obvious.
It's no obvious connection, but we found it, okay? Which is fantastic because we said, then we can do this with you, and then we can do this activity together, okay? We can skip this because of Wonderland, okay?
I have to.
All right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This
You're
has been
welcome.
Really
That's
good.
all right.
Really, really good.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot.
Okay, we can skip that. Okay, alright. Primary students make their end of year film. So, working in this way leads to children making their own film. Okay? Which for us was like, wow. Do you understand how much you put into a film? how many skills they practice when making a film? They have to be able to read the script. They have to be able to say the sentence correctly. They have to be able to stand in front of a camera. They have to be able to know when to say their line or when to wait. Okay? They have to be able to understand what they're saying. There are so many skills they practiced. Okay, that we made the film their end of year product. Okay. So in the same way as for kindergarten, the end of the term product was the lab book, so we showed the parents, this is what your child has been doing for a term. This is what they did in primary, all the primary years. The end of year book, if you want to call it, okay, the end of year product was their own film, okay. So we had children for the last month. Well, we had May and June, all around the school, children everywhere filming each other. Okay, there were the Brothers Grimm's film here, the Pirates here, the Alice in Wonderland on the other side of the school. We had children making their own films everywhere. Okay, and they went home. And I brought an example. They went home with their own DVD. Okay, where they could show to the parents. Okay.
The thing about this is that, for example, about the learning contents, right? Because you may say, okay, but do these kids learn how to, I don't know, they learn about what an adjective is, or do they learn, can they do a Cambridge exam? Do they know these structures? Right, for example, in 6th grade, our film was actually a musical. So in order to do that, we need to, okay, first we need our characters and we need our setting. So we need to describe them. So we're going to work on text descriptions, like as in place description, character descriptions. We're going to use adjectives. We're going to use comparatives in a natural way, because I need to compare my characters with each other. I'm going to use suffixes, because I need to make adjectives to get all these characters. After that, we need an action. So we need to use verb tenses. So all the language is just in there. But at the same time, we're talking about historical language. So they're learning about history and all these historical periods. And they're learning about the same thing. They were talking about Cervantes the other day and Shakespeare at the same time, for example, because they went together. So we're linking all these things together in order to produce our musical. Obviously, we need attrezzo, we need everything that we did from art, production, sound, music, all the music, rhymes. We learn how to rhyme because we wrote our own songs. So we learn how to rhyme. So all these contents, the result is not we are learning this because we need to do it. It's I really want to learn this because I'm going to use it, because I'm going to produce my own musical. My mum and my dad are going to come and I'm going to be proud. And they were really all proud. The last day, we were even crying. The last day was like, wow, look at all these things that the kids have done. And they were excited about it as they've never been.
Important. This doesn't happen just like, ooh, suddenly all the kids start making fantastic things, okay? All this comes from the teachers, okay? You need a teacher who is motivated. You need a teacher who finds inspiration and shares that inspiration, okay? This comes from the teacher. It doesn't come from an iPad. You've seen iPads. We use iPads, but you need to know how to use the iPads correctly. Okay, you need to find the topic. You need to find a way to know how to put all that into place. Okay, so it does not come, and motivation from all the teachers. Obviously, okay. One motivated teacher is not enough. Okay? We have to motivate. And
coordination. We
need to find this wow effect for the children to want to work on that. Okay, and we did that experiment at school. Okay. First term, we had a topic and we went to the classroom with that, wow, we received a letter from a man, we don't know who this man is, but we're going to read this letter. So we read the letter, and it was a letter from Don Quixote. They didn't know anything about Don Quixote, but we read that letter, and then the following week we received a parcel, and we didn't know what the parcel was, okay, so we opened the parcel, and there were lots of things in the box, so we made this wow effect. And the kids were so excited that this happened in all the grades, okay? Year 1, year 2, 5, 6, 7. Second term, I don't know if it was because the teachers were tired, okay? We didn't have that wow effect in the topic. Okay, it worked out, but the kids were not that motivated. There wasn't, we didn't bring any surprise into the classroom. We didn't send them a letter. We didn't suddenly receive a present from anyone. So, okay, the kids were all right, okay, let's do this. But there was no motivation, okay? So we found that then the third term, we did what we did in first term again, okay, which was like, wow, okay, and there was a surprise, and then suddenly a man came into the room, and we didn't know who that man was, and this man explained a fantastic story. We even asked the caretaker of the school, the caretaker, to participate, okay? And he came and did his show in the class, and everything was like, wow, fantastic. The kids worked so hard for the topic. So this is important, the wow effect, okay? These are examples of what the final product. Okay, before the film, before making the film. Okay, you have example there. And this is what Bea is going to tell you. Okay,
This is all the planning and
okay.
what we're talking about. Okay, this is fantastic. The kids only get the result. The kids only get the story. They get into the story. Obviously, we as teachers, this needs a lot of coordination, time and coordination. And this is what we did. I just got a closer. This is all the teachers in 6th grade, but we did this in all the years. Obviously, ours has got this content. So we sat together and we said, okay, these are our topics. We were reading Treasure Island and Wonder. Do you know Wonder? This amazing book by Raquel Palacio. The movie's coming out next week. So we're reading those books. And we are producing our musical. So taking these 2 topics, what can we talk about? Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the same thing in English and Spanish or Catalan or Maths. We need to coordinate. So we get to get all this content. So this is what we did. We just shared this document all together and we started getting all these things. Okay, at the same time that in history, that we're talking about pirates and the discovery of America. In English, we were talking about Pocahontas and we were talking about Shakespeare, and we were talking at the same time in Spanish we were talking about Cervantes. So we were mixing all this together and it made sense. For the kids it was not like, okay, today open your book, let's do this and this and this, but it actually made sense because we were talking about historical context. And that's the context that we would use in our musical. Because we will be pirates and we will be in that context, we need to learn about pirates and all this stuff. So it was actually something that they needed so that they could use it for the musical. Right? But this is the coordination.
So we are not forgetting the curriculum, okay? The curriculum is there. Okay? It's not like, woo, let's do whatever we want here. No. All this is based on the curriculum. We follow the curriculum, okay?
Okay. We got some examples now. This is the kids.
These are the board games which the kids prepared with all the competences. Matemáticas, catalán, castellano.
Shall we get the kids?
Okay, let's listen to them.
We learned that Don Quixote comes from Castilla-La Mancha, and in Castilla-La Mancha are lots of sunflowers. So we decided to make our own sunflower like mango.
Alright, this is your one. Okay. Oh, we put this picture here because we found it so amazing. For Carnaval, there were 3 kids who decided to dress up as Don Quixote. Okay. This had never happened in the school. The kids were so excited about the topic that they decided to dress up as Don Quixote for Carnival. Okay. We usually have ninjas and Spider-Man and
Star Wars.
Quixotes. Okay. We can skip that.
What's at the top?
Okay, these are examples of natural language happening. Okay, the kids start asking themselves questions about. So what happens if I go to Toledo? What am I going to see? I don't know. Find out. Go home and ask your parents, and then their parents would let them know, and then the parents would know that we're talking about this. The kids in 1st grade for Christmas, when we were asking, oh, so are you going on holidays? Yes, and where are you going? Out to Toledo. So the kids were so excited that they were asking their parents to go to Toledo, okay, on holidays, instead of asking to go to Disneyland. Okay?
And they said,
20 euros.
Oh, important. No homework. Okay? We don't call it homework anymore. It's challenges. And the challenges are related to what they're doing. Okay? We don't give them homework. We give them challenge. In this case, we were working on films, so the challenge was to watch a little, a short film and find out whether the film had soft music, loud music, why the
When the video starts, the music is fast and loud.
That's an example, okay? This was the homework. And the kids came with the homework done.
The dog appears, the music is quiet and fast.
Yeah. Oh, this we asked the children. That was the weekly challenge, the homework weekly challenge. We asked the children, how do you think Don Quixote would travel around the world nowadays? How do you think he would travel? And they came up with the droncinante. They came to school with a droncinante. They made a droncinante at home. And they brought it on. And these are the transports they made. So when a child comes to school with a droncinante, is when you go like, okay, this is good, okay, yes, what we're doing is good, okay. I'm sorry, okay, it's taking so long, alright? Well, this is just an example, okay? We would like to give you...
The problem is closing...
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. With all of that excitement. We would like to invite you all to come to our school, okay? To see that this is real, okay? It's not that we are very excited about it. This is happening. It really happens, okay? So if you want to have a look at what we do, you can take pictures and everything, okay? But if you would like to come